second worst performing light tank on this list is the Tier 6 American T-21, a highly mobile little devil with an insane rate of fire, clocking in at just under 47% average wins. Followed by a high tier fan favorite, the Tier 8 American dirt monster, the T-49. Now, 48.3% average wins is not horrible, but it certainly isn't great either. It's kinda expected though. A lot of people do extremely well in this little troll of a tank, but it certainly is a tricky one to play well, at least consistently, and it's also quite prone to throw you back from time to time. Low win chance or not though, this thing is fun. Now would be the time to look at the premium light tanks in the game, but as we well know, there are only actually quite a few of them tier 5 and up. And it turns out that they are pretty well played as well, with even the weakest Type 62 finishing above 50% average wins. So that means no negative top list for the premium light tanks. Instead, let's jump over to the mediums. Bottom of the list for the regular tanks is the Tier 5 Japanese Type 3 Chinu, a relatively underwhelming machine with a bare 45.5% average wins under its belt, which is followed by a bit of a surprise actually, the Tier 8 Soviet T-44 with only 46.2 average wins. I have to say this thing was certainly one of my least favorite Tier 8 mediums until now, and while I know it has its fan base, it's good to know that it wasn't just me struggling with it. And finally in third place we have a machine that I didn't try until now, and after this I certainly won't rush to do it either, the relatively new French Tier 5, the Renault G1, finishing at a measly 46.23% average wins in the last 30 days. Popping over to the premium mediums, there are no big surprises here really, pretty much all of the least popular choices are present. Still though, these worst win percentages are not as bad as their regular counterparts. Bottom of the list is the Panther M10, this Tier 7 American medium that, preferential matchmaking or not, has finished with only 47.7% average wins. Next on the list is the German, at least in the game, Panzerkampfwagen T25, where its low rate of fire and sluggish mobility resulted in only 48% wins. And finally it's another German on the list, the Panther 88. Now this little sniper is not doing that badly actually, with an average of 48.5%, but it's still far from perfect for a Tier 8 premium medium. Next on the list are the regular heavy tanks. Or are they? As expected, the worst played heavy tanks are pretty much all machines that will do quite poorly in an in-your-face brawl that a lot of people associate with typical heavy tank playstyle. Not all heavy tanks are frontline warriors though. But let's see the details. Top, or better to say bottom of the list, is the Tier 8 Knaven with a quite bad 46.2% average wins. Remember, as it's an average, that means that a lot of players have performed a lot worse than this in this thing. Alright, well, the Knaven was pretty much expected, although I'm actually kinda looking forward trying it out for myself. The next two though are a bit of a surprise. In second place we have the German Tier 5 heavy, the VK3001H, that, while it can seldom play like a real heavy tank, gets an absolutely awesome Tier 7 tank gun, the Waffe, already at Tier 5. Great gun or not though, its average win percent remains at 47.3. The third place is perhaps the biggest surprise for me, in form of the Tier 6 French ARL44. Now it might have a slow rate of fire, but that gun can slap around Tier 8s even, and it's mounted on a Tier 6 heavy. Still, it only gets just below 47.5% average wins. Moving over to the premium heavies, it's all Tier 8 goodness quote unquote, although there are some pretty interesting facts about the list. So, the title of the lowest average win percentage goes to the not so popular IS-3A, that sacrifices mobility and accuracy compared to the regular IS-3 in order to gain better rate of fire and standard APCR shells. Doesn't seem to be like an awfully amazing trade though, as it only clocks in just under 47.5% average wins. Next on the list are two recent ones, the T-34 Black Edition with 47.47% and the IS-6 Black Edition at 49.2%. Now I did check, and actually all the Black Edition tanks seem to perform worse compared to their normal premium counterparts, despite having the exact same statistics. I'm guessing this is because they were mostly picked up by newer, less experienced players, as the long-term player base mostly owns these machines already if they wanted to get them in the first place. I don't think many of them went ahead and bought a second version of the same tank with a different skin, revised price point or not. Next up, it's time to look at them tank destroyers, and yes, the infamous Churchill gun carrier is here, although it's in a very interesting company. So for the regular TDs, the first place goes to the T-Rate Soviet non-turreted wonder, that's the Su-101, with an absolutely abysmal average of 44.2% wins only. This baby right here has the lowest score of all of the tanks in the game, Tier 5 and up, and man do I not look forward to grind through it. The second place was a bit of a surprise for me, to be honest, as it's actually a Tier 10 machine among the top worst performers, the Object 268. BL10 or not, this thing performed in the last 30 days barely better than the dreaded Su-101 with only 44.23% average wins. The famous Troll Cannon is just not that special at this tier anymore, and the machine is quite simply outclassed by a lot of its opposition. And last but not least, we have of course everyone's favorite Churchill gun carrier at Tier 6 that surprisingly actually outperformed the Tier 8 and the Tier 10 with its score of 45.63% average wins. Almost makes me want to play this thing. Nah. Hopping over to the premium TDs, we just found the lowest average win percentages in premium machines, all led by the first mission reward tank, the not very much